Welcome to the Jazz Piano School podcast, where we have one mission, that is to help as many interested people around the world learn and improve at jazz piano by providing structured and organized jazz piano education. I'm your host, as always, Brendan Lowe, and thank you so much for joining me today. This is episode number 96. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over how to add rhythmic contrast to improve your improvisation. If you're interested in learning more about what Jazz Piano School has to offer in the courses, go to jazzpianoschool.com/look inside. Now, in today's episode, if you are looking for the practice materials, which include exercises on how to integrate the rhythms into your improvisation, go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 96. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So the first rhythmic topic I'm going to be talking about is just quarter notes in space, okay? Utilizing quarter notes in space, right? So if I'm playing a blues, for example, oftentimes people overlook a quarter note, right? So let's say I have a blues. I'm just going to comp through it to get the feel for it a little bit. One chorus maybe. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so if I'm soloing, and let's say we play the blues and we get all the way around to my solo. Here we go. Right, just a simple line using the blues scale like that, with some space is very effective. And again, as I go through all these different steps, you're going to start to see it increase as well, right? It's going to become more advanced. But just leaving that space, if you're a beginner or even if you're an advanced player looking for some ideas, utilizing space through quarter notes is an amazing way to start. Now, even for me, that was kind of difficult, right? I had to restrain myself, leave space, use quarter notes. You can play quarter notes on upbeats, right? There's no problem with that. You don't have to play quarter notes on downbeats. And it's challenging, right? It's challenging even to me because we're taking ourselves out of the realm of what we're used to and comfortable with, and essentially that is going to lead us to grow. Okay, let me try it again one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. I love this. I just created a motif there, right? So creating motifs with your quarter notes, which I'll talk about later on, is amazing as well, okay? So space with quarter notes is really, really effective. Eighth notes, all right? Let's talk about eighth notes. So overall, adding rhythms into our playing, we want to think about drummers, right? What would a drummer do, right? So drummers probably, if you picture a drummer playing on their snare, eighth notes, right? Here's our tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our eighth note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? Do you think they're going to just play straight eighth notes on their drums, right, for a solo? Da 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 da. Absolutely not, right? No way they're going to. So we want to do the same thing with our playing, right? So we're not going to play. I mean, even when I do that, it doesn't even swing because it's just all eighth notes. There's no rhythmic variety. There's no rhythmic content. And again, that's a prime example of how you can tell like it doesn't sound good just by playing straight eighth notes. That's just not going to sound good. So we need to spice it up, right? We need to do different things, right? And that's done through leaving space and creating small ideas, right? And we can combine it with the quarter notes that we just used as well. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I used some dyads there. Right now, again, I started going off a little bit. I started getting into it a little bit more, started feeling it. But again, simple ideas, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Very, very simple stuff, and that's swinging. If you have a band driving behind you and I'm playing that, a lot of times that's what you're doing to create, the energy and the atmosphere from your solo. It's how you develop your solo, right? Through use of just quarter notes, eighth notes. Now, when we start to expand even more, okay, a lot of people can get to this point, quarter notes and eighth notes with some rest and space and things like that. But that's where it stops, right? You can't stop there. You got to continue to add rhythmic variation. Now, the next step, triplets. Triplets is the most, is arguably the most swinging rhythm in jazz, right? Triplet, 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 triplet. Because out of that comes swing. Out of the triplet comes swing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and triplet, 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 right? So triplets are amazing, right? Just like that. So I say that because it's like, oh, just like that, right? You're an idiot, Brendan. It's not just like that. I understand it's difficult, right? But you have to think about it in terms of, rhythmic variety, right? And no matter what your skills are, right? Keep it simple, okay? I'll demonstrate again, but keep it simple with triplets and just the blues scale. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, some eighth notes. Right, so there you go. So just a simple thing. And again, through the combined use of motifs, it's going to sound even better. Now, triplets. Okay, so we got quarter notes, eighth notes, and triplets. This is all very, of course, Brendan. I use those all the time. Again, a lot of it depends on note variation. I understand that, but again, it doesn't have to be all over the piano. 16th notes. All right. At 16th notes, what we're using for 16th notes are a variety of different things. Trills. Right? 1 E into 2. Right? 1 E into 2 E into 3 E into 4 E. I'm adding a little bit on there by accident. Sorry. Back to the triplets. So triplets are a great, 16th notes, trills for stuff like that are a great thing. Also falls, right? 1 E into 2 E in. That's a 16th notes. Da di da da di da da di da 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 da. Back into your triplets. So the constant variety of using all these different rhythms is really going to just bring up the level and entertainment level and just feeling of swing and jazz in your playing. Okay, so here's some of the 16th note fall-ins or lead-ins. Triplets, right? There's a 16th note, right? Okay, so again, that was a demonstration of 16th note motif combined with some triplets, combined with eighth notes, and obviously some space and motifs. And again, how you can see in the demonstration that the combination of everything is really what puts it all together, right? It's what brings it's the glue, like the rhythmic glue of all these different rhythms is what you need to work on. And it can't just be triplets for 4 measures, eighth notes. It's got to be all within your playing, okay? And again, in the practice materials, you can get exercises to start incorporating these, combining these, and integrating them into your playing, Okay, so we worked on quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes. Now I'm not going to get into more rhythms. Quarter note triplets is a great one to use, and I will talk about that for 1 second. Quarter note triplets is great, right? Wynton Kelly does this a lot to swing. Herbie does this a lot in some of his older albums, and it helps. It kind of I don't know what it is, but there's something about the quarter note triplet that just makes it feel like it's swinging harder, right? So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, the quarter note triplet is going to be, let me see, 1, 2, I got to clap this out at the same time. I can't speak it. 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 right? There's our quarter note triplet. And essentially, it's 3 notes against the 2 in our beat, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And again, if you don't know that, you can kind of work on that with the practice materials. But if I add that into my playing, the quarter note triplet, right? Be ba ba do ba dee dee. Right, dot, 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 dot. So there's our rhythm. Again, this is going to be for more advanced players. You hear Wynton Kelly and Herbie do this all the time, and it swings like crazy when they do this. It's awesome, right? Let me see. Right, so I kind of went off on the quarter note triplet demo a lot on the end there. Beep, boo, beep, boo, beep, boo, beep, right? Quarter note triplet. So adding those in, plus all the other stuff, plus some of the trills, added some octaves in. Again, the demonstration of the purpose of this podcast, so you can see it's that the combination of everything is really what's going to uplift your improv and give you that, that pop. It's the pop to your playing that makes it feel good, right? And again, if I play, that was very simple, but due to the rhythms, da 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 da, quarter note triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? The space and what I'm playing, it's driving, right? It helps the music drive. Whereas if I was playing one note with a couple of notes around it, right? The A flat. If I were to play like, you don't remember anything from that, right? So this brings me to the next thing, motifs, right? You want to create a story. You want to create a storyline around your playing, okay? Through that storyline, you're gonna be telling and expressing your personal story, right? You're gonna be saying something. Whereas just playing eighth notes, what do we remember? Like, I don't even remember just playing eighth notes what I played. It was just a bunch of random notes. They don't mean anything, right? The notes only have meaning unless you give it meaning. And that's what it's going to happen through motifs, okay? And we can create motifs using, what is a motif? It's just a pattern or an idea, right, that you develop, okay? So it's kind of a repetitive pattern or idea. And in this case, it's going to be used with rhythms. So we can use all the other variations of rhythms that we just used to create a motif. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my motif, right? I just made it up. I can't talk and play at the same time. Sorry. There's my new motif, right? It doesn't have to be the same notes. It can be anything. So creating a story, and that allows me to develop. I mean, I could play 100 choruses using motifs, right? Because I'm not like running out of ideas. I just take one idea, I change it a little bit, develop it, and then I move it into the next idea. And we can have hundreds of ideas and play that one idea for a full chorus, okay? Call and response is kind of similar to what I was doing. This is going to be number 7. I said 7. There's actually going to be 8. So if we do an idea here. Right, so we're kind of call and response. Now, again, that can be melodically, but in this case, I was focused more on the rhythms, right? We could do. So again, it's kind of melodic, but again, I'm using one note. So the melodies isn't too much of my concern. I'm more focused on rhythms, okay? The last thing is texture. Now, we need to vary this up so we're getting lots of different textures, right? And we can play, you want to think about rhythms as textures now, and not like space versus no space is a texture, right? So a lot of times, this one solo, I can't remember what it is. I think it's a Monk tune, went and plays at the live at the Village Vanguard, but he comes out playing lots of notes, and you can't really hear any of the notes because he's playing so fast, right? So again, this is about a texture, right? He's setting up a texture to come out of that, and when he stops playing all these notes, it's like, oh, and then he leads in with this a strong, solid, confident line, right? Right? Or whatever it is, So think about stuff as a texture rather than, I'm playing a lot of notes. And the same thing goes for space, right? You can think about less space as a texture, So you want to create these different types of textures. And again, a texture can be anything. You can create like that's a texture I just created, more of a palette. That's another texture, right? So you can create all these different types of textures through the different types of rhythms. So think about your rhythms combined with textures, and that will give you just like so much to work with to increase your solo and really kind of open up what you're used to playing, kind of develop your solo and really give it some good rhythmic swing and variation. So again, space with quarter notes, the first 3 are pretty self-explanatory. Eighth notes, right? Think about the space with the eighth notes. All of these you want to use motifs for. Triplets, right? Triplets are very, very important. Again, most people stop, remember, at quarter notes and eighth notes. Remember to get your triplets in. 16th notes for trills and falls, right? Triplets, stuff like that. Motifs, always be using motifs. Your call and response is a really nice thing to do. And then textures, right? Create textures and focus on creating textures through the use of all your rhythms. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. Again, practice materials at jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 96. And there are going to be exercises on how to help you implement the use of these rhythms and combining them and how to combine them in an effective way. So this is Brendan Lowe. Thank you guys so much for listening and happy practicing.